For those of you at home, we just did this intro problem just to kind of review parabolas a little bit. A should be -6 when you look at that. All right, homework-wise. I looked at them last night, so those of you who started it, I looked at it and started it after that this morning. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I thought it was a little bit, I don't know, I saw a few more mistakes, I think, than normal. So let's just hit a couple here and then see what you got. Well, 44, I think they give you this equation. A squared is your 16, A is 4, B squared is 4, B is 2. So your slope is going to be 4 over 2, but what does that reduce to? 2 over 1. I would, to make sure, even though the slope is 2 over 1, if you're going to do if you do the box, you need to make sure you go up 4 over 2 to make sure that that vertex is in that right spot. Okay. The slope will reduce to 2 over 1, and that's okay, but it should look like this. Now, what's the equation of the asymptotes? It hits at -1, +1, and so we use y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and so I get y minus 1 equals plus or minus. Now you can just put 2 here, okay, because it'll reduce to 2. X plus 1. So for you have those. Foci. What do you got for the foci in terms of the points? Peyton, what do you got there?
I have -1, 1 minus radical 20, and then -1, 1 plus radical 20.
So radical 20, which is, it would be c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So c squared will equal 16 plus 4. C squared equals 20. So that would be the case. You're going to add 20 vertically. Square root of 20 is less than 4, or more than 4, but less than 5. So somewhere up in here. 1, 2, 3. Somewhere down there. Okay, for those. Question on 44. 53. Threw a few of you for a loop. Okay. You only complete the square on the x squared, so you get a 9. So you add a 9 over here. So you should have x plus 3 quantity squared minus y squared equals 45. Divide everything by 45. This is your standard form. Okay, this is your standard form. Oops. And now a squared and b squared are going to be the same. Okay, a squared is 45, b squared is 45. So a equals the square root of 45, b equals square root of 45. Oh, that line was my other branch. So now you might have changed the scale on here, but what's going to be your center? Your center's got to be -3, 0. Square root of 45, that's got to be in between 6 and 7. So you go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in between 6 and 7. Okay, and it's going to open up left and right for that. What's going to be your foci? We'll add those together. 45 plus 45, square root of 90. Okay, well, that reduces to 3 radical 10 if you want to do that, but that's going to be your foci for those. Now, if you did the box, you got to go square root of 45 up, square root of 45 over. Okay, that'll give you the whole thing. But what does our slope reduce to? Square root of 45 plus or minus over square root of 45, which is just what? 1. Plus or minus 1. So it should be y minus 0 equals plus or minus 1 times x minus 3. Actually, plus 3. There. Okay, so we good on that? And what was did we have 59? Was that one of them? Okay. What did you get for your equation when you were done for 59? Okay, so when you did everything and you got finished, what should because I know the book doesn't list the equation. Okay, but you should be able to infer all that from there. Okay. Kylie, what'd you get? You think you got it? Maybe. What'd you get?
x minus 3 squared over 6 minus y plus 2 squared over 9 equals 1.
All right, that's what I got. That's what you should get. X minus 3 quantity squared minus y plus 2 squared over 9 equals 1. So if you didn't get that, double check, and then we'll have to take a look at that. Now, from here, what do we know? Which way does this open? Which way does this open? Maria? Sideways. All right, left and right. It's going to open up left and right. My center is going to be 3, negative 2. Okay. So that's my center. All right, if I make that box, so my a squared is 6. A is square root of 6. My b squared is 9, so my b is 3. Well, I'm going to go up square root of 6. Oh, what is that? Somebody help me. What's square root of 6? 2 point something. We'll go 2.3. Close enough. We'll go up 2 point something and then go over 1, 2, 3. You get a dot, and then up and then over 3. And I'm going to go down 2 point something and then over 3. Yeah. Nope, I did it wrong. Which way should I go up, or how far up should I go? My slope is rise over run, so it should be 3 over square root of 6, plus or minus. Sorry. I should go up 3. Okay, and then over square root of 6. I should go up 1, 2, 3, and then over square root of 6, and go up 1, 2, 3, and over square root of 6, and then down 3 over square root of 6. Okay, so it's going to look something like that, and then you're going to have your asymptotes through there. Well, that didn't go very well. Hold on. There we go. That's the best I can do right here. So you're going to have your asymptotes through there. And now, you said it opens up left and right. So you got to go square root of 6 to the left. Okay, which will go right on that box, and it would go right there. And then you're going to graph it here, and we're going to graph it here. All right, what did you put for your equation of the asymptotes? Okay, Wendy, you've been gone a while.
1 plus 2 equals plus or minus square root of 6 over 2. Parentheses x minus 3.
Okay, and that's what they had in the back. And yep, because right here, this is the slope, but how did they get, okay, this is the slope, but how did they get that? What they do to get that? They rationalize the denominator, multiply by square root of 6 over square root of 6. So you get 3 radical 6, and that gives you 6, and then that reduces to square root of 6 over 2. So if you were wondering why they had that instead of 3 over square root of 6, what they did was they rationalized. I wouldn't be too concerned if you left it like that. I'm not overly concerned about that. But I just want to make sure you understand where they got that. All right, let's kind of finish up on your guided notes there. And all right, this is just the basics for the hyperbolas. Transverse axis, and I know the book asks you to find the transverse axis. That is what goes through the center. Okay, it goes through the foci and it goes through the center. So for right here, your transverse axis, okay, and I know we haven't talked about it a ton, would be this line here, and whatever your y value is, so this would be y equals -2. That would be your transverse axis. Okay. And for this one here, the transverse axis goes through the center. That's going to be y equals 0. Okay, that would be my transverse axis. And for this one here, it would be the vertical line through both of those, through all of this here. That would be x equals -1 for my transverse axis. Okay, so it just goes through your foci and it goes through the center. All right, take a look at this here. Copy down the information you need. Take a second to process it. Okay, vertices are at 0 plus or minus 4. Foci are at 0 plus or minus 6. Okay, I'm telling you it's hyperbola. First thing you want to figure out is which way does it open? Does it open vertically or does it open horizontally? So our vertices, okay, are here and here. My foci are up at 6 and -6. So that tells me that it has to open up vertically. My center has to be halfway between both the vertices and the foci. So that's going to put it at 0, 0. So that puts it in that nice form. So that's got to be, since it opens up and down, y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. Since my center's at 0, 0. All right, now we got to figure out what a and b are at this point. Well, I know one of them. Which one do I know? Just from the information. Okay, Eddie, what do you think?
The A.
The A. And what is A?
It's going to be 4.
4. A is the distance from the center to your vertices. And so, Eddie, what's going to be the distance from the center to the foci?
16.
What?
Sorry.
6. So and that's our C value. So that's our C value. So A is 4, C is 6. We know C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And so I can use that to figure out what B squared is. So 6 squared is equal to 4 squared plus B squared. And so 36 equals 16 plus B squared. Subtract 16. Whoops. And you get 20 equals B squared. B is going to be square root of 20, but theoretically, I don't need that to finish this. So that gives me y squared, a squared is 16, minus x squared over 20 equals 1. So that's going to be our answer for that one. All right, and that's all you need. All right, for that bottom one there, okay, find the standard form of the equation of hyperbola with asymptotes at y equals plus or minus 3x and foci at 0 plus or minus 10. All right, this one's a little bit more difficult, and it goes back to number, what was it, 44. The slope for this was 4 over 2, or reduced to 2. So if I tell you the slope is 2, or whatever, it doesn't guarantee that that's going to be your a squared and your b squared. Okay, so that's 2 over 1. If you reduce that, It could be any ratio that gives you that. So this is what you got to watch on here. And what I mean by that is it's going to be, hold on here. The general form has got to open up and down, right? Because your foci are 0 plus or minus 10. So 10's all the way up here, negative 10's all the way down here. And so it's going to be the form y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. So according to this, the slope should be a over b, correct? Well, here's what you got to watch. You can't assume that a is 3 and b is 1. Can anybody show me why it's not? Or let's figure out why it's not.
The foci is like negative 10 and positive 10.
I need a little bit more. And that's like, it gives you a clue, but there's mathematically. Let me show you why not. So right here, your first, and don't write this down. Your first inclination is to say A is 3, B is 1, correct? Well, C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared, right? Well, what is C in this case? We're on the 10, right? C is 10. We'll take a look here. Does 10 squared equal 3 squared plus 1 squared? 10 squared is 100. 3 squared is 9. 1 squared is 1. That gives me 100 equals 10. That's not true. So that means that the A and B are, they're going to be something that reduces to 3 over 1, but it doesn't mean A is 3 and B is 1. All right, so here's what we got to do. We have to figure this out. M equals, it does equal 3. Let me figure out. Okay. Hold on here. So M, the slope does equal plus or minus 3, or we'll just use 3. So that does mean that A over B does have to reduce to 3 over 1. And that means if I cross multiply, that means A has to equal 3B. All right, how can I use everything here to figure out what my values are? So A has to equal 3 times B, whatever that is, okay, or some form. Go back to this case here. I know that C is 10. So that means 10 squared has to equal A squared. Well, what is A going to be equivalent to? A is equivalent to 3B. So it's going to be 3B squared plus B squared. 10 squared is 100. That gives me 9B squared plus B squared. All right, what's 9B squared plus B squared? That is 10B squared. Divide by 10. I get 10 equals B squared, which means B equals what? Square root of 10. B equals the square root of 10. All right, what's A going to equal? What's A going to equal? A is 3B, right? So it has to be 3 times the square root of 10. All right, what's my equation going to be? It's y squared over A squared minus x squared over B squared equals 1. Well, what is A squared going to be? All right, take a second. See what you think it through. Okay, it's going to be 3 radical 10 squared, but I would want you to actually do that. And then minus x squared over square root of 10 squared, which equals 1. 3 square root of 10 squared. What's that give us when you're done? Gabby, you know? 90. Yep. Square root of 10 times square root of 10 is 10. 3 times 3 is 9. We get 90. Minus x squared over 10 equals 1. So here is your final answer. Now we did say A was 3 roots. we did say A was 3 radical 10. We did say B was a radical 10. So you got to think about this. A over B is 3 radical 10 over radical 10, which does reduce to 3 over 1 or 3. So it does satisfy that condition that the slope's 3. One thing you can't assume, though, is that your final A value is 3 and your final B value is 1, because it may be a factor of those. Okay, so that's our final answer for that one. You just got to be careful there. Do that. I want to hit, and I know I didn't leave any more room, but so you might have to throw this on another sheet or whatever. But this is going to be part of your test. So I wanted to hit it a little bit earlier. I'm going to give you an equation, and it's going to say identify the conic section and write the equation in standard form. Well, some of you are going to say, what's the conic section mean? Basically, it's saying, is it a parabola? Is it an ellipse? Or is it a hyperbola? That's basically that's part. Is it a parabola? Is it an ellipse? Or is it a hyperbola? And all I want you to do is write it in the standard form. All right, we'll look at that. Sarah, do you know which one it is?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So now we got to be able. You got it, Caitlin. Do you know which one it is?
I don't know which one is not.
Which one isn't it?
The hyperbola.
Okay, it's not a hyperbola. All right. Now there's a key thing that tells us which one it is and which one it isn't. Okay. To be an ellipse or a hyperbola, you have to have a y squared and an x squared. If only one of them is squared, then it is going to be a parabola. Okay, that is the only one where only one of them is squared. So that case here, for this case here, it is a parabola. Now, you're going to say, what's the general form of a parabola? It was, or it is, x minus 8 squared equals 4a times y minus k, or it is y minus k squared equals 4a times x minus h. Well, which one's it going to be? Since the y squared is the one that is, since the y is the value that is squared, it's got to be the second one. We got to get it in that form. And remember to do that, we're going to take whatever has the y value. So we get 2y squared minus 4y on the same side equals, move your other two terms to the other side because we want just y minus k squared over here. So now to do the completing the square, you've got to factor the 2 out. And we're going to put something in here, and I got negative 3x plus 7, and I got to counter it over on the other side. All right, a half of 2, negative 2 is negative 1. Square that, you're going to get 1. Don't forget it's multiplied by that 2. So you got to add 2 over here on the other side. So now I'm going to get 2 times y minus 1 quantity squared equals negative 3x plus 9. Now over here, we have to get a constant out in front. So whatever is in front of the x, I'm going to factor out. And so I'm going to factor out a negative 3. When I do that, that's going to make that x, and I'm going to divide that by negative 3, so it's going to be minus 3. All right, I'm almost done. There's one little thing I got to take care of. We do not want that constant over there on that left-hand side, that 2. Okay, we always write it as just the quantity squared. So to get rid of this 2, I got to divide by 2. So in the end, it's going to be y minus 1 squared. Here's what I can do. I can just take negative 3 over 2 and just make that a constant out in front of x minus 3. So that would be your final case there, your final parabola, standard form. All right. And I think it always tends to be like parabola seems to be like forever ago, and they're the one that's just a little bit different. So it's good to kind of hit them a little bit ahead of time. All right. So these two, I believe, are going to be parabolas, just to kind of get you back in the groove. I don't know, they might be ellipses. And then page 982. So just graph number 57 for those.